Hey there. If you are new to my channel, good to have you. Most of my videos are meant to empower people to identify spiritual abuse, escape from abuse, and then to recover from it. So I'm glad you're here. Today, I want to address a common ploy that abusive church leaders use to control their people. And it's the misuse of some words by Jesus mentioned in the Bible in Matthew chapter 18. It has to do with confronting someone about their sin. Let me read it to you. Jesus said this. He said, "If your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault just between the two of you. If they listen to you, you've won them over. But if they will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses." And that's in Matthew 18. So this is how these words are misused to control people. A person experiences some kind of abuse from a pastor or church leaders, but it's too intimidating for that person to confront those leaders about their abuse. Maybe they tried talking to the pastor once, and by the time they were done talking, the abused person felt like they were the one at fault. Ever have that happen? After all, the pastor knows the Bible better than they do, so going to the pastor isn't an option. Instead of confronting the pastor, the abused person goes to someone else in the church, or maybe outside of the church, with their concerns. And then the third party brings up those concerns of abuse with the church. And when this happens, the pastor says that the complaint is nullified or rejected because they didn't come directly to the pastor with their concern, according to Jesus' words in Matthew 18. They accuse the person of disobeying the word of God. Do you see the problem here? If the person goes to the pastor, he'll deny the abuse or talk circles around the complainer, making them feel like they're at fault. But if the person goes to someone else with their concern, the pastor negates their concern due to a technicality. It's a lose-lose situation, or what some people call a double bind. Let's take a brief look at what Jesus said. In context, Jesus wasn't speaking about how to confront a pastor. Jesus was speaking to the average believer confronting another average believer. But even if Jesus was talking about confronting a pastor, you have to remember that churches in the New Testament were not formal organizations with full-time staff like we have today. The power dynamics were much different, much less intimidating back then. My point here is that it's not fair to require someone who has suffered abuse by a present-day pastor to confront that pastor following Matthew 18. There is a huge power imbalance in that scenario, and the larger the church, the larger the imbalance, the greater the intimidation factor. I don't believe Jesus had a modern-day church in mind when he was talking about confronting people in their sin. If a person has the courage to confront a pastor, well, that is the best case scenario, and good for them. But I don't think we should require someone to confront their abuser when there's a strong power imbalance, and especially if the abuse is severe, such as with sexual abuse. Confronting your offender can re-traumatize you, and insisting on you to do so is another form of spiritual abuse, only making matters worse. The National Domestic Abuse Hotline puts it like this. They say, confronting an abuser can be dangerous, both physically and emotionally. Many abusers deny or minimize their behavior, blame the victim, and continue the abuse. Survivors who confront their abuser without a safety plan or support may find themselves feeling invalidated or re-traumatized, especially if the abuser responds with aggression or further manipulation. Now, I'm not giving people license to talk freely about their concerns with anyone who will listen to them. This is also very destructive. I simply believe that we need to take into consideration the dynamics of power and how they can work against the abused. Well, I hope this brings some clarity to the situation. I hate to see people bullied and controlled in the church, especially when they do it using the words of Jesus. I wrote an article with more detail about this that you can find on my website at readingremy.com. If you've been spiritually abused, please find someone to share your concerns with who in turn can make your case for you. That might be a safe person in your church, or maybe someone outside of the church, like a counselor or even a lawyer or police, if the offense involves a legal issue. You might also want to get my book. It's called Broken Trust, and I wrote the book to help people know what to do when their trust has been broken by leaders in a spiritual setting. It's available in paperback or Kindle, as well as I recorded the audiobook, and you can purchase it on Amazon.com. If you found this helpful, would you do me a favor and like it and make a comment and share it with someone, preferably online? That is so helpful to me. Thanks so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.